Shay with O.W.N Health and Strength, and today we are going to do Weird Stuff About Humans Part 2. So the first one was about knees. If you didn't see that one, go check that out. So we talked about how knees are a synovial joint. Shocker, your clavicle, which is what we're covering today, is also a synovial joint, meaning there's supposed to be fluid on both sides of it. Meaning that this bone right here is supposed to move all these different directions. And that also means that your body has to move those different directions, right? So you have a couple joints in your clavicle. So you have your sternoclavicular joint and your acromion-clavicular joint on the outside, so inside and outside. All of this matters because when you have a modern lifestyle nowadays, so unless you have a job that's like physically moving you all the time, or you've really worked on having better posture, your clavicle is probably not moving as well as it can. So when this happens, these muscles in the front of your body get tight and short, these ones get tight and lengthened, and so you got to kind of figure out that balance because you are supposed to be able to like move your clavicle forward. That allows like lymph to drain out of your head so you don't get migraines as often. Shoulder injuries. So your clavicle is super important because it's what makes this little meat bag actually attached to your body, right? So not exactly, but basically your arm is only attached to your skeletal structure on your first rib right under your clavicle, right under that sternoclavicular joint. So otherwise it's rotator cuff muscles and like ligaments that attach your arm to your body, right? So kind of important because your clavicle is what actually allows the weight to be transferred from your limb to your skeletal structure. That's what blocks it in. So injuries to the clavicle are really, really bad. So AC separations, which is this joint dislocating, and it also feels terrible. Those are really bad because there's also specific brain cells in your clavicle, kind of. So that's not exact science, but you have specific cells in your clavicle that are different than anywhere else, and they send signals to your body because this is kind of like one of the last stops before your neck and your head and your brain and your brainstem, like super important things, right? So your body like panics more when you have an injury to the clavicle, whether it's an AC separation like we talked about, whether it's a dislocation of your sternoclavicular joint, like breaking your clavicle, all very, very bad. So how do you keep it healthy? You make sure it moves. So a few things that we're gonna do today. Coracoid poke, Y raises. So I've done lots of coracoid poking things in the past. Your coracoid process is right in here, right under that acromion-clavicular joint. So you're gonna poke in there and we're gonna do a Y raise. So you're gonna bring your thumb over to the opposite hip, cross over and think about internally rotating your arm, and then you're going to externally rotate, lead with your thumb as you inhale up, exhale down. So this is allowing your clavicle to move through a better range of motion. The muscles that are possibly, most likely, tight on the front of you are gonna get a little work in here as well. And it's gonna allow your arm rotation to work a little better, which will allow lymph and blood to like flow in your body better, right? So we're gonna do those first. Then you're gonna do a sternoclavicular poke shrug. So sternoclavicular, right here, sternoclavicular, sorry. This is why it's Shay science and not like actual science, but it's based on reality, right? So you're gonna poke right under this little joint right here. So right where they kind of meet under here, your sternocleidomastoid, this muscle that comes behind your ear down to the first rib. You're gonna poke right kind of like under that, and then you're gonna shrug your arm forward. So if you can't pull your hand up, that's fine. Work on it, but different time. So you're going to try and reach your arm forward in space, and then shrug back, just kind of keeping your hand there. So this is gonna allow you to floss this joint, and again, we talked about how lymph and everything needs to kind of drain out of your neck. You wanna make sure that this is a clear pathway to go back into your circulatory system and pump through your heart and everything, right? So just do a couple on each side. Sometimes, if you have a tight neck, or if you know that your head's in a forward position, your sternocleidomastoid, these muscles right here, are super tight. And sometimes you'll have like a little bit of pinchiness, or you'll feel a little resistance. If you're finding that like my left side is a lot different than my right side because of different injuries I've had, but I'm finding that my left side's a little bit stickier, and also it tends to pop right here, which is fine, but sometimes it doesn't feel good, and then it feels better afterwards, like pressure being relieved. So just know that that's there. And then one of my favorites that we're gonna finish up with is cactus arms. So I've done this one before because it's really good for getting shoulders in the right range of motion, but it's also great for clavicle movement, which is why I put it on the shoulder stuff. So you're gonna start with your palms facing you. Think about having your forearms parallel to each other, and you're gonna inhale As you go up, that's allowing your clavicle to drain down like that. Open up through your chest and then pull back down and around. So it's doing a couple things. Like we said, it's draining your clavicle and like moving that joint around and allowing the fluid and the synovial fluid to kind of move on both sides so it's lubed up. And it's also bringing you up, stretching through your lats, arms, and side body. Exhale, opening through your chest and activating your back. So the way to make long-term progress is to stretch this a little bit, activate this a little bit, stretch this a little bit, activate this a little bit. And that's simplifying it way beyond what it actually is, but that's where you want to start, right? So cactus arms really move with your breath because that also moves your rib cage, which your clavicle is attached to, so you want to make sure that's all moving around. So basically, your bones are supposed to move in all these crazy directions, and you need to kind of work on making sure that they can, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to do. And that doesn't mean that you should start now if you've never moved your body in your life. Start now, because you'll make progress over time. So thanks for tuning in for weird stuff about humans. Next time, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover gut health in this, we're going to cover poop, we're going to cover lots of different things. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have questions or suggestions on what you want to hear about next, and we'll see you soon. Bye.